No, I didn't invite everyone here. I didn't agree to pay for everyone's four-course meals. If we're all adults, we can all handle our own bills. When I got home, I had a text from Mom. You embarrassed your brother tonight. That wasn't fair. From the outside, the Collins family looked like the picture of warmth and unity. Holiday photos with matching sweaters, family vacations at cozy resorts, smiles that could almost convince you nothing was wrong. Almost. Because behind those smiles was a hierarchy, a silent, unspoken ranking system. And I had never been at the top. Hi, I'm Daniel, the older son. I work a decent job in IT, nothing flashy, but enough to pay my bills, save a little, and maybe treat myself once in a while. I'm not glamorous. I'm not the one with the killer smile that makes strangers hand over free coffee. That's my younger brother, Jason, tall, good-looking, charming in the way that makes people overlook the fact he's never held a real job for more than 2 months. In our family, Jason isn't lazy. He's finding his path. He isn't mooching. He's just needing a little help right now. And if I ever dared to mention that I had bills too, well, apparently, I'm the one with the bad attitude. It started when we were kids. I was 12, Jason was 9. We got $20 each for allowance 1 week. I saved mine for a new video game I'd been dreaming about. Jason blew his on candy the same day. The next week, when I was about to buy my game, Mom said, Danny, be a good big brother and share your money. Jason doesn't have any left. I refused at first. She frowned. Don't be selfish, Danny. He's your brother. You should help him. That was the first time I helped. It wouldn't be the last. It started a week before the infamous dinner party. My mother called me, her voice syrupy sweet. Danny, sweetheart, we're having a family dinner next Saturday. Jason's bringing Sophie. You'll love her. She's such a sweetheart. I told your father it'll be nice for us all to reconnect. It sounded harmless enough, but I already knew how family dinner usually went. Jason orders the most expensive thing on the menu. Mom beams like he's royalty. Dad sits quietly sipping his wine, and at the end of the night, the check somehow lands in front of me. Saturday came. I dressed simply, dark jeans, a button-down. When I arrived, Jason was already there, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place, Sophie clinging to his arm in a glittery dress. My parents were beaming at them like they'd just walked in carrying gold bars. Danny, finally, Jason smirked. We were waiting on you. Hope you brought that magic card of yours. I forced a smile. I brought myself. That's enough. Mom chuckled in that fake light-hearted way, the kind that's meant to be funny but carries an edge. Oh, Danny, don't be so sensitive. You know you're the responsible one. It's just easier when you handle things. Dinner started, and it was exactly what I expected. Jason made a show of flipping through the menu. Ooh, lobster. Oh, filet mignon. Sophie, babe, get whatever you want. Danny's got it. I felt the heat rising in my chest. Sophie tilted her head, giving me a once-over, like she was assessing my ability to pay. That's so sweet of you, she said, like I'd already agreed. The waiter came. Jason ordered the steak, Sophie the lobster, Mom and Dad their usual wine and entrees. I stuck with pasta. Halfway through, the conversation turned, as it always did, into subtle jabs. Jason leaned toward Sophie. You know, Danny here's so good with his money. Never splurges. Never buys anything fun. Kinda boring, really. But hey, that's why he can pay for all this. Sophie giggled like it was the funniest thing in the world. Dad sipped his wine. Mom smiled faintly, eyes flicking between us, but saying nothing. By dessert, I decided I wasn't going to play along this time. The check came, and, right on cue, it was set down in front of me. Jason leaned back. Go on, big brother. Show us how it's done. I looked around the table. My mother was avoiding my gaze. My father was suddenly fascinated by his fork. Sophie was sipping her cocktail like she was on vacation. I took a deep breath. Actually, no. Jason blinked. What? No. I didn't invite everyone here. I didn't agree to pay for everyone's four-course meals. If we're all adults, we can all handle our own bills. The silence was sharp. Mom's smile faltered. Danny, that's not necessary. Just put it on your card. We'll settle up later. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. We both know you won't. You never do. And I'm done pretending this is okay. Jason scoffed. Wow. Petty much? It's just money, man. Exactly, I said. It's just money. So why does it always have to be mine? The table went cold after that. We all paid our own checks. Sophie barely looked at me when they left. My parents were stiff, polite, like I'd broken some sacred unspoken rule. When I got home, there was a text from Mom. "You embarrassed your brother tonight." That wasn't fair. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. For years, I'd been the family's safety net, the dependable one, the wallet they could count on. But in that moment, I realized something. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as an ATM with a pulse. And that dinner? It was the last time I ever swiped my card for them. 2 days later, a mutual friend called me. He asked if I'd heard about Jason. Apparently, he owed money, a lot of money, to a few people you don't want to owe. The dinner? It wasn't just about showing off to Sophie. He'd been planning to use my credit card for cash advances that night, thinking I'd hand it over without question. That family dinner wasn't about family at all. It was about getting deeper into my pocket. This time, for something far uglier than a steak dinner. That night, I blocked Jason's number. I stopped answering my parents' calls for a week. When I finally picked up, Mom jumped in immediately, her voice tight. "Daniel, you should be helping your brother. You're the man here. Stop making it a big deal. Jason just needs a little support." I felt something inside me snap. Years of swallowed frustration boiling over. A little support? Mom, Jason's been just needing support for over a decade. And instead of telling him to stand on his own 2 feet, you fed this idea that he can do nothing and still be rewarded. She tried again. "We just want to keep the peace in the family." I cut her off. "No, you wanted to keep Jason comfortable. You ignored what he's become because of your favoritism. You failed to teach him independence, and instead leaned on the one child who is independent, me. And do you know what makes it worse? Not once have you appreciated it. You've taken my help for granted, turned my generosity into an expectation, and ignored how it's made me feel." There was silence on the other end. I took a breath and gave them the kind of truth they'd never wanted to hear, the kind you'd get in a masterclass on respect and boundaries. Parents are supposed to raise both their children to survive in the real world. You didn't raise two strong adults. You raised one, and you trained the other to survive off him. That's not love. That's failed parenting. If the only way you'll include me is if I'm paying, count me out. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. Because I finally understood, I wasn't their family in the way that mattered. I was their bank. And the bank had just closed. A month passed after the dinner and my final phone call with Mom. Silence. No texts, no calls, no guilt-tripping messages. I figured this was it. Our relationship had finally crumbled. Then, out of the blue, Mom called. Her voice sounded different this time. Softer, almost careful. "Danny, your father and I want to have another dinner. Both you and Jason. And Sophie, please just hear us out." I hesitated. "If this is another trap." "It's not," she said quickly. "No bills, no games. We need to talk." Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I arrived, I could feel it instantly. The atmosphere was different. The table wasn't set at an expensive restaurant. It was at my parents' home. Home-cooked food, nothing fancy, just family style. Jason was already there, dressed more simply than I'd ever seen him. Sophie sat beside him, looking uncharacteristically quiet. We sat down. My father cleared his throat. "Daniel, your mother and I have been talking. A lot. And we owe you an apology." I stayed silent, letting him continue. "We didn't see what we were doing. We thought we were protecting Jason, but all we were doing was making him dependent and putting all the weight on you." Mom's eyes were glossy. "You were right. We took advantage of your generosity. We ignored your feelings, ignored how much you've done for us, the bills you helped with, the times you stepped in when no one else would. And instead of thanking you, we made it an expectation." Jason shifted uncomfortably. Dad glanced at him. "Jason, we've talked about this. We've told you to acknowledge what your brother has done for you." Jason looked at me, for once without that smirk. "Daniel, I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize how much I was leaning on you. I thought you'd always be there to cover me. I see now how unfair that was." I studied him. He looked different. Humbled, maybe. Or just tired of the cycle, too. I leaned back in my chair. "I appreciate the apology. But words only mean something if they're followed by action. Jason, I want to see you stand on your own. And Mom, Dad, I want to see you stop enabling him. You both have to understand. Love isn't giving someone a crutch for life. It's teaching them to walk." Mom nodded slowly. "We've already started making changes. Jason has news." Jason gave a small smile. "I got a job. Full-time. Not glamorous, but it's mine, and I'm going to stick with it. That's good, I said. Just remember, independence isn't about the job title. It's about taking responsibility for your life. That evening, we didn't just eat dinner. We talked, really talked, about how favoritism had shaped us, about how resentment builds when gratitude disappears. And for the first time in years, I felt heard. My parents promised, vowed, to change. No more automatic handouts. No more brushing off my feelings. If help was given, it would be acknowledged, and it wouldn't be one-sided. The months that followed felt like I'd stepped into a different life. Jason kept his job, and not only that, he started paying his own way when we went out. The first time he grabbed the check without looking at me, I nearly fell off my chair. Mom and Dad became more mindful. They invited me over not because they needed something, but just to spend time together. And when I couldn't come, there was no guilt trip, just understanding. As for me, I finally had the freedom to live my life without the constant pull of financial obligation. I traveled Greece, Italy, Japan, working remotely from coffee shops in cities I'd only ever dreamed of visiting. I hiked mountains, swam in oceans, tasted food that felt like art. And I did it all without feeling like I was abandoning my family, because now they stood on their own. One evening, while watching the sunset from a quiet beach in Portugal, I thought back to that first dinner, the one that broke me. If I hadn't spoken up, nothing would have changed. They'd still see me as the bank. Jason would still be drifting. But instead, we all learned something. And as I boarded my next flight, I realized, sometimes, the best gift you can give your family isn't money. It's the push they need to stand without you. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.